ran an R&D department for a small startup toy company. They're still around, Zoom, the building toy made of ball and socket joints. And then I left that because I wasn't building anything, and it was killing me. And I went to Industrial Light Magic. I spent 5 years with Industrial Light Magic, and Jamie called me up one afternoon in the spring of 2002 and said, "You want to shoot some demo reel for this show called Mythbusters?" And I said, "Sure! Why not?" And they showed up 3 weeks later, and we've been doing the show ever since. A myth that I want to do that I haven't gotten to do yet. What? Still got the hard of hearing, it's terrible. Creationism. Yeah. The problem is, you're spending a lot of, That's longer than I have right now to talk about that. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of things I've always wanted to try. We're doing this one, we just did this one, which is something I've always wanted to do, and I've been waiting for an opportunity to find a way to shoehorn it into an episode. Is we were talking about action movie myths, and we have developed this whole story called Hang On There, which is, could you really hang on the edge of a building for a while? Could you hang on to the damsel while hanging on the edge of a building? Could you pull yourself up? Could you pull your buddy up? Could you pull the damsel up without dislocating your shoulder? Could you fall a short distance and catch yourself? All of these tropes of action movies, we wanted to work through them one by one. The problem with the episode, though, is that what's the spectacular finale? You know, it's just a lot of the same things. What's the finale? And I thought, well, the finale is falling into a dumpster. Everyone's always jumping into a dumpster. Butch and Pulp Fiction and Neo and The Matrix. How safe is it to fall into dumpsters? So we decided to do this. Once we started to go into what we now call dumpster diving, we actually threw out all the Hang On There stuff, which we'll do again at some other point, to be sure. We did a whole episode on dumpster diving, and in order to do this, Jamie and I had to get trained how to fall by a stuntman. So we spent a whole day standing on the edge of a 20-foot-high building and jumping repeatedly into an airbag, which is really intense. It's like, you're standing there, this is something I've always wanted to know how to do. You take this leap out, and you lie, look down, and you lie all the way back and look straight up, and you let your whole body hit this bag. And at the end of the day, I was actually a little physically nauseous from the adrenaline rush. I had never had that before, but the repeated adrenaline rush was totally intense. The things that I want to do often involve those experiences. As far as stories, man, there's just so many. The roster of what we've got coming up in the next year is just thrilling. One we're going to do, which is very much like Airplane on a Conveyor Belt, is Sailing Downwind Faster Than the Wind, which is a hotly debated physical kind of thought experiment. These are my favorites, the physics thought experiments. And actually, we got one coming up in October that's crazy awesome. There's a physics thought experiment that says a bullet has no lift. Well, this is true. A bullet has no lift. So that means if you fire a bullet and drop one at precisely the same time, from precisely the same height, they'll both hit the ground at the same time. One will be, 1,500 feet that way, and one will be here, but they'll hit the ground at the same time. And we tested it full scale. We got what I think is one of the world's great high-speed shots, and I know that nobody, this is where I get really thrilled, I know no one's ever done this, no one's ever wasted their time to get this shot. We did.
This is kind of a self-serving question, but about a year ago I wrote a comedy song about Mythbusters, and last spring I gave a copy to Tori. Did he tell you about it or give you a copy of everything?
That bastard didn't tell me a thing. I'd love a copy.
Okay. So more of a technical question. You use both ballistics gel and ballistics clay in a lot of your experiments. Now, while ballistics gel is pretty much universally recognized as a really good medium,
a lot of people say that ballistics clay is terrible for trying to simulate blunt force trauma. Have you heard those concerns, and did you take those into account when doing myths involving ballistics clay?
Yeah, we have gone through every material there is at this point, and the ballistics gelatin is really problematic because it's expensive, it's hard to mix, and it rots in little tiny places around the shop, and it stinks for weeks. And then there's this kind of ballistic wax that we used, which was really hard and not very good. We used the clay. We love the live pigs. Not the live pigs, the dead pigs. They were alive once, but not because they're not dead because of us. Maybe because of it's a question. Anyway, we found this new stuff. I think it's called Syntex, which is it's basically a hot melt vinyl, and it's water clear. Pour it right. The most beautiful stuff. We did this episode which aired bamboo growing through you, bamboo torture. That aired, right? Kind of messed up. That one took forever, and one of the reasons it took forever, I mean, we shot that episode over a year because we kept on finding interesting ways to kill bamboo. It's supposed to grow like weeds, but we kept on killing it. The Syntex is great because it's reusable. It pours really well. It doesn't burn you when it goes down. It doesn't rot. It does discolor over time, but it's very versatile. And so that's our new favorite stuff. And it's from the guys we know at the Oak Ridge Ballistics Labs. It's as good as the ballistics gelatin. Which is, I mean, the other problem with ballistics gelatin is it's not valid unless it's X degrees. Because only at a certain temperature range does it give you the actual modeling of flesh. And there's also all these other things about flesh, like is it modeling the actual aspect of the water in the flesh or the sinew in the muscle. We run into all these problems every time we want to simulate something like a bullet head or a knife stick or something like that. And lately we've started to sew up our own out of like animal parts. Did we do finger blown off by the gun?
Yeah!
Yeah, that chicken hand, how about that? Corey Grant and Carrie went much farther with that, and that's coming up in October, November too. They went much farther.
What's your favorite explosive and what's your favorite explosion?
Oh, my favorite explosive and my favorite explosion. That's great, the difference between the two. I really like black powder. It does exactly what you think it does. I mean, it fulfills your Bugs Bunny fantasies. But explosion, my favorite explosion is not actually a real explosion. It is more technically quantified as a conflagration, and it's the water heaters. I can't get enough of those water heaters. Two-story water heater hasn't aired yet, right? Yeah, October, one of the very first episodes that's going to air in the October block that's running is a lot of people wrote us after we did the water heater going up to the roof and said, I live in a two-story house. Why water heaters in the basement? What about that? And we're like, okay. We tried to find a two-story house that was 1,500 feet from nowhere and we couldn't find one, so we built one. We actually built this really nice experimental model of a code basement floor with foundation, a code middle floor, code ceiling, and a code roof. And what we did to it is just fantastic. At this point, you have to understand that explosions to me and Jamie, we're like wine connoisseurs. We're like, oh, that one had a deep thud with a nice rattling shell. So for us, it has all these qualities. And we really get into them, but we both agree that the thud of the water heater going off is just, it fulfills your Bugs Bunny fantasy. Like, it feels like a punch in the stomach in the right way, like, oh! And then you get to see something fall